Merry Christmas, Load the Box fans. I know it's not Thanksgiving yet, but we preemptively decorated my home yesterday. So I went ahead and Christmasified my office, and what a great Christmas gift it would be from the Vikings if they won out and win 11-5. To start doing that, they've got to beat the Dallas Cowboys today at, I believe, 3:30 Central Time, 4:30 Eastern Time. I'm joined as always by Jack Day. I am Jordan Hawthorne, a Christmas enthusiast. Jack, it's been like a month, it feels like, since we have talked on air or whatever. You did a really good job with that interview with Zach Wilson. How has your week and a half been?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been, it does seem like it's been a month or two, and I've been saying that like the last couple of weeks of work has felt. I guess you can kind of say that with like the COVID times right now. I feel like the whole last like 6 months has kind of felt like 3 years rather than 6 months, but it's been good. It was busy week of work, but I'm looking forward to some good football. I just kind of chilled all day and watched the whole last like yesterday. I also like 3 years have my Christmas tree up with my girlfriend and myself. We put it up on Friday night, so we actually beat you to the punch by one day as well. So Christmas enthusiasts here as well. But like you said, I'm looking forward to this game this afternoon. I think it was one of those games that it rightfully was put in that 3:30 time slot, and it could have been America's game of the week had Dak not gotten hurt and the entire NFC East wasn't self-destructing as we speak. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of those games where it feels like I've seen the word trap game all over Twitter, and it could be a game like that because the Vikings, they're favored by I think 7 points, I want to say, and rightfully so. They are the better team. Andy Dalton coming into Minnesota does not scare me whatsoever. And whenever I say that, I'm usually somewhat wrong to some aspects. So hopefully Andy Dalton doesn't have a career day against the Vikings today. But I'm excited to watch. I think there's similar about what we've been saying the last couple of weeks. There's so many young, talented players, and we saw it last week in Chicago. We've seen it the last couple of weeks. This defense is buzzing, and I think that's that main. I mean, the offense has played fairly well the entire season. I know they had that dud against the Falcons, but other than that, they've kept this team in games, and the defense is starting to kind of pull their own weight a little bit with these young guys. So I'm excited to watch. I know we'll get into it a little bit more here in a little bit, but I'm excited to watch these young guys, the Chris Boyds, the DJ Wanhams, the Jeff Gladneys of the world, and I'm excited to see how they do against a banged up Cowboys offense.
Yeah, this feels like a game where if the Vikings were at full strength, or even if it was like the Vikings of last season where we had, our secondary, while we were griping about it, it wasn't, a bunch of guys who were, delivering packages a week before they got signed to the Vikings or whatever. The Vikings their defense looked, what did we allow, 6 points against the Bears offense? Now, granted, the Bears offense is awful, but besides that special teams touchdown, the defense looked pretty good. DJ Wanham, was playing pretty well. He's been playing pretty well all season. I think he has surprised Vikings fans. He kind of had to because of Daniil's injury and the Yannick Ngakoue trade. So I like what I'm seeing out of this young defense. And if this was the Vikings defense of last year, I think this is a game where I would expect dominance, and I would expect, to go in, shut them down. It's just, we'd roll over them, we'd beat them by, 17 points, and it would be on to next week because Dallas isn't very good. But because this defense has so many unknowns, I don't know what defense to expect. I don't know if I should expect Andy Dalton to come out and play like, Aaron Rodgers or, one of the elite quarterbacks and kind of look like Patrick Mahomes out there just slinging it. He does have the weapons to do so. And that's kind of what scares me about this game. It's not Zeke. It's not Tony. Well, it's kind of Tony Pollard. I'll get into that in a minute. But Dallas's wide receivers are so, just elite, it feels like, with Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. Those are three, home run hitters at the wide receiver position. So it's we're gonna need a good game from our secondary. There's no question about it. That's where my number one matchup right there. Boom, bam. This young secondary, Chris Boyd and Jeff Gladney and Chris Jones even, I don't know. Is Cameron Dantzler, is he back yet? Oh,
he's questionable. I think he was limited towards the back end of practice this week, so I think there's a good chance, or there's a chance he plays. I shouldn't say good chance because that's up in the air and I don't know how to answer someone being questionable, but there is a chance that he plays today.
Yeah, so, if Cam Dantzler plays, we're going to need to see him look very good and not look like he looked in the final seconds of that Seattle game. It's just the secondary is going to have to step up. Harrison Smith last week forced my hand, and I tweeted out from the Load the Box page, holy hell, he might be the best safety in the league because he was flying all over everywhere. He had a pick. I believe he dropped a second pick in the back of the end zone. And then he made a play that I don't know why, but it was my favorite play of the game last week on Monday Night Football. He ran up and just like I think it was Robinson caught the ball and he just spiked it out of his hands. It was such a fun play to watch, and he was flying all over. Gonna need to see him look good again. So that's my number one matchup of this week is let's watch this secondary against an elite wide receiver group. And obviously it would help if the pass rush gets home and doesn't let Dalton pick them apart. But that's mine. Jack, what's your number one matchup you're looking forward to in this game? What are you excited about?
Yeah, I have a couple things I want to bring up before I kind of get into some of those matchups. For the third straight week, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if there's some luck, if the football gods just have felt bad about how saddened I've been by this season or what, but my game ball picks the last 3 weeks, this week, I know it feels like it was months ago, so it's hard to remember this, but I do know Harrison Smith was my defensive game ball pick last week, and I know that's kind of a cheap one because Harrison Smith is probably the best player on our team, but yeah, I've been on a roll with that, and I just wanted to bring up one other thing. If you are watching this and you're looking for something to watch after this show and you want to watch something to get you pumped up about the Vikings game today or the Vikings future, I retweeted something. Justin Jefferson was on Good Morning Football this week as well, and he was on there, and this video recirculated. There was a lot of Minnesota sports Twitter accounts that were retweeting this, and if you didn't see it live, which I don't remember seeing this when it happened, but now it's even more special going back and watching it. And this will kind of tie into some of my matchups as well, because I'm excited about the offense today. The Vikings, when the Philadelphia Eagles took Rager instead of Justin Jefferson, their draft room was ecstatic. Mike Zimmer was smiling, and that should tell you something right there. The head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Mike Zimmer, was smiling when an offensive player fell to them in the draft. That should tell you something. And hence we've seen how special of a player Justin Jefferson is already now. So that's one thing. And then if you fast forward it to the following day, actually it might have been the third day of the draft, they're talking about another draftee of this draft class, DJ Wonnum. And I don't know if it was Spielman or Andre Patterson, but Andre Patterson really, really, really wanted this guy. And one of them, I don't know if it was Spielman, Zimmer, or Patterson, one of them, when they made that selection, their words were, this guy is A+ across the board. And they got him in the 4th round, and now we're starting to see DJ Wonnum come onto the scene. If he is, it's hard to say this, Danielle Hunter 2.0, I use that in quotes because there are similarities, but it's hard to compare a young rookie to the Vikings' most dominant pass rusher over the last 2-3 years. Excuse me. But there was a lot of excitement, and I think there should be a lot of excitement moving forward because you get Danielle Hunter back on that defensive line, and DJ Wonnum is on the opposite side of him. And you throw in Michael Pierce jamming up the middle.
Don't forget about Afadi.
If whatever his name is, solid as well. I mean, Hercules Mataafa is starting to come on. I've been doing mock draft after mock draft after mock draft because Zach Wilson is starting to go earlier and earlier. So I'm trying to get him in my mock drafts, but. Everything that I've done, I've been going defense after I go quarterback round 1, and the 2 third-round picks, I go that 3 technique spot and then a safety. So that with the trade of Yannick Ngakoue, we might be able to allocate that money elsewhere and re-sign a guy like Anthony Harris. You might not have to draft a safety. I think Miles Dorn is someone that they have some confidence in that was an undrafted free agent, I believe, out of the University of North Carolina that is on the IR right now, kind of learning the ropes as well, hopefully. But this has kind of been a reoccurring theme for this show for me, and I'm sorry I'm kind of going on a tangent and a rant, but there's so much to be excited for moving forward. And I say this every week, but there's just rookies that I'm really excited to see how this defensive line plays because Dallas's offensive line is not what it has been. There's injuries littered across their offensive line. Zach Martin, I believe, is their starting guard, who's very good. He's playing right tackle for them today, which we saw. It took Zach Martin is a different level of talent than what Ezra Cleveland is in his career right now. But we saw, Ezra Cleveland has been very, very good now the last couple of games, but it took him some time because it was a transition to that right side of the offensive line, and he's a tackle as well. So it's not as easy. I mean, if you're a good offensive lineman, it's not as easy to make that switch as people think. There's the people that said Riley Reese should become a guard. Who knows if he would fit in that role? He's been dominant at the left tackle role, but yeah, that I'm really excited to see how DJ Wanham and those younger guys, Hercules Mataafa, play against that offensive line, because they've been buzzing. And this defense, I mean, the offense has been playing well. Delvin has been getting fired up, and I tweeted this out after the game or during the game. Kirk Cousins is playing with a fire that we've been talking about for years. We've been trying to get this out of Kirk Cousins, and when he was freaking out and screaming, that was the most excited. That was the peak of this season so far for me. Seeing Kirk Cousins pissed off with a little bit of fire. If Kirk can play like that every single game, watch out, because he's going to play well. I mean, he didn't do anything extraordinary, but he did what we had to do against a bad Chicago team or a bad Chicago offense. He put up enough points against a very good defense. 19 points isn't what you want. You want more than that, but it was enough to get the job done. And this defense is starting to buzz. Chris Boyd is playing with fire. I love that physical presence that these younger kids are playing with. They're just playing football. They're not thinking anymore. I think we saw it earlier on in the season. We saw them kind of tiptoeing around, probably not wanting to get yelled at by Zimmer as much. You're starting to see Jeff Gladney and Chris Boyd, rather than they're not in their head as much. They're just playing football. They're flying around and they are having fun.
Absolutely.
I think it was, hold on one more second. Chris Boyd, one more thing on Chris Boyd. That play he had to break up, I think it was a screen to Darnell Mooney last week earlier in the game, where I think it might have been Anthony Miller or Allen Robinson. Someone tried to block him, and he completely came flying downhill, smacked the receiver that was blocking him. He flew back into Darnell Mooney and made the play and blew it up. I need to see more plays like that, because this defense is buzzing and it has me excited.
Yeah, I know exactly the play you're talking about, because at first I was like, I think that's Jeff Gladney, because that's the type of physicality that we've seen Gladney play with, and it's why you have been mentioning his name, not comparing, but just mentioning his name with Antoine Winfield Sr. Just that physicality in the run game, busting up screens, that whole thing. And if Chris Boyd starts playing like that, don't get me wrong, I understand you need a long, fast defensive back to, keep up with the Tyreek Hills of the league. But I'll take just 3 or 4 Antoine Winfield Jr. or senior wannabes that are just going to absolutely obliterate people. And if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us over the top. But guess who's waiting over the top, Jack? It's Anthony Harris and Harrison Smith, who are, 2 of the best safeties in the league. So there's definitely hope on this defense, but the issue is right now it is hope. We don't know for sure that this is a long-term thing, so we're going to need to see that. Also, you bring up Justin Jefferson on Good Morning Football. I watched Rick Spielman's interview with Paul Allen from this week, and they start talking about Justin Jefferson, and Rick Spielman, it was like he, has said this a couple of times. He was like, he's elite with the ball in his hands. He has strong hands. He makes good catches, great route runner. He was the perfect guy in the draft. We thought he was the best receiver. And I was like, damn, it's just so cool. I don't know. I like whenever we get our guy, and obviously the team has to say they got their guy, but you can kind of tell with Justin Jefferson, and even with Garrett Bradbury last year, just the excitement that the team had to be getting a guy of it's kind of like they got their guy that they wanted. No matter where they were picking, they didn't have to move. They just got their guy. So that's pretty cool. But moving into another matchup, I know we talked about their offensive line. We talked about their wide receivers. Let's give our offense a little bit of credit here. Dalvin Cook, I know he didn't go for 200 yards against the Bears defense. I think he had 90 yards. Would have had over 100 if it wasn't for a Kyle Rudolph holding and a couple other holdings that were questionable at best. But whatever, it is what it is. Dalvin Cook, I think this is a game, kind of a get back to where he was game. I don't think we're going to be talking about him breaking Emmitt Smith's record or anything like that. That was floating around after he went for $190 and then $170 or whatever it was. I think this is a game where we could realistically see Dalvin go for maybe, $150 of all-purpose yards, probably 120 and then 30 yards. But Van Der Esch is back. I believe Jalen Smith, their middle linebacker, one of their linebackers, is also back. Their defensive line, they have I forgot his name. I'm really good at doing a spelt show. They have that one defensive lineman, I think it's Alden Smith, who was out of the league for a few years and then he returned. And he's back. He's been playing all right. But I really think this is going to be Dallas's athletic linebackers in Van Der Esch and Smith playing against the freaky athletic Vikings offensive line and Dalvin Cook. Ezra Cleveland out today, not going to be playing, I believe. So it's going to be, I think Elfline's back in, baby. I think it's Elfline season again, but don't hold me to that.
You must have missed something on your honeymoon because
he got caught.
He is on the Jets now.
I forgot he's on the Jets now. Who the hell? Hi, Aaron. Thank you for saying hello. Who the hell is our backup guy?
I think it's either going to be Oli Udo or Brett Jones. I want to say Brett Jones has it, which I'm fine with. He has the experience. He had experience out in New York when he was with the Giants. So
absolutely.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so Brett Jones is going to be stepping in. Forgot that we just straight up gave Elfline, we just said, get off the team, you're trash. Which, again, all offseason, I was like, just cut the guy. And then we actually do it, and I'm like, well, hang on. I think he's a serviceable backup maybe. But Brett Jones, let's see him hold his water. I don't know if he's going to be able to make some of these freaky athletic plays that we've seen Cleveland be making, but... Excuse me, I'm starting to come down with a little bit of a cold here, but Dalvin Cook's going to have to make a few people miss if this offensive line isn't as good without Cleveland. And then obviously they're going to have to keep Cousins clean so he can, have a good day because he can't, he's not exactly the fastest. I did make a joke to Jack Monday night about how Cousins seems to have like 80 speed but like 2 acceleration because it's like he can't run away from anybody, but once he gets going, he's like running past the entire defense, and I don't understand it. I don't understand why he's so slow to get going, but it's just the player that he is. It's why I want Zach Wilson. But anyway, that's my second matchup of the week. It's the Vikings offensive line and Dalvin. It's the Vikings run game, I guess, against Dallas's linebacking co that I think is sneaky good.
Yeah, there's another guy. I shouldn't say another guy is the quarterback of the team, but I'm excited to watch Kirk Cousins play today. We get to see, we haven't mentioned this yet, they're wearing their beautiful, last week, their jerseys were beautiful. I love the all whites. It might be my favorite color scheme that this team has. Someone tweeted at me after I tweeted something like that. I can't remember who it was, so I'm sorry if I'm blanking on the name. But they said the white jerseys with the purple pants is another elite combo that we don't utilize enough, and I agree with that. That is another very good combo. Today they're rocking the Color Rush jerseys, and I think that's also one of their cleanest.
They're not the Color Rushes anymore. Now they are the Prime Time Purples.
Prime Time Purple.
Well, that's so cool, Jack.
But they are awesome jerseys, and I'm excited to watch Kirk Cousins. We saw Kirk Cousins walk his way through the NFC East last year. Dallas is not a very good football team, and we're seeing Kirk Cousins coming off his first ever, if you didn't know this, last week or this week, again, sorry, I have no idea what week it is, but Kirk Cousins is coming off of, his first ever Monday Night Football victory. If you didn't know that, before that was 0-9, and that's why I think he was playing with that fire. I think it was finally his time. Kirk Cousins was essentially just saying, it's time for everyone to just shut up. I did it. Let's move on from this. Stop putting that stat. They're not going to stop because it's Kirk Cousins. They're going to tarnish his name as long as they can, and I think this is a game where we're going to see a little bit more. We're going to see that fire. I hope it carries over. And I mean, we're seeing Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen playing at a very high level. You have Dalvin Cook in the backfield. I think Irv Smith Jr. is still questionable. I don't know if there's been a final call on that or not. But I think Kirk Cousins is going to have a monster game today. I think this is a game where I'm going to come on and say I think Kirk Cousins is the reason. I shouldn't say the reason they win this game because I think the Vikings are going to handle their business and win by +10 at least. I think Kirk Cousins has a good game, and I'll preface this by saying I still want the Vikings to draft a quarterback in the first round, whether that means Kirk Cousins is going to be the quarterback for the next 2 years and he sits and learns behind him. But if you didn't watch Zach Wilson play yesterday, he went 10 for 16. I think he was out of the game in like the third quarter or something.
Yeah,
like
he
that.
was
10 for 16. So he had 10 completions. I think it was 40% of his completions were for a touchdown, and he threw for over like 200. It wasn't anything crazy in the yardage, but there was a play that I tweeted. If you want to see how good of an arm this kid has, there's a play where he's just sitting in the pocket. He has a little bit of time. He steps up in the pocket, and he slings the ball like 55, 60 yards in the air, and it's an absolute dime. Like, that kid is special, and I want to see him in a Vikings jersey. I want to see the Vikings invest at the quarterback position because we haven't seen it. I still have some faith in Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins can get it done. But like I've said it in my writing repeatedly over the years. I've said it on the show repeatedly. There is never a bad time to draft a quarterback. We saw with the Chiefs with Alex Smith. We saw the Patriots do it with Jimmy G. We saw the Packers do it twice now in our lifetime with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. The Vikings have to do that this year. I mean, even if Kirk Cousins goes on a magical playoff run, I still want to see this team get someone in there that's developing behind Kirk Cousins rather than having, I don't know what you want to call Sean Mannion, but he's a mediocre backup at best. So I want to get that young gunslinger, some mobile aspect in his game, get him on this team. But like I said, having said that, I'm expecting a big game out of Kirk Cousins today. I think they are going to try. Obviously, they're going to try and establish the run with Dalvin Cook, but I like Kirk Cousins today. I've had a couple of gut feelings over the last couple of weeks, and Kirk Cousins is that feeling for me today.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, Dallas's defense is bad. Dallas really doesn't get home much as a pass rush. The pass rush doesn't get home much. Their linebackers are sneaky good. They've been banged up, so it's kind of been, a lot of backup play there. And then their secondary, I believe Trayvon Diggs is out. I believe he's on the injured reserve. Of course, that's Stefan's little brother. So, he probably had this game circled as kind of like a, this is my Christmas present from my brother. I'm going to pick off your old QB a couple times. But he's out with, I believe, a foot injury. They're not really good at safety. They haven't been good even with Trayvon Diggs in. He was their best defensive back, and he is out, of course. So they really are similar to the Vikings, where it's, I'm sure Dallas fans can go down and name 3 or 4 guys that are showing some promise. But as Vikings fans on the other side of the coin, I see this as a game where Cousins could, just straight up throw for 350 yards, and, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are just eating all game long. We'll move into game balls really quick, and then we'll try and kind of get out of here. Of course, game balls are the highest honor that you can be given here on Load the Box. It is what we give the players that we believe are going to have the best games. And the highest honor you can have outside of the football world, whenever you're at a bar, you meet a nice lady, you're laying down with your wife, whatever it is if they compliment your manhood, and they compliment the smell of it, the grooming of it. I don't know, maybe you do a little mustache, you shave in some snowflakes for Christmas time. I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing with your junk, go over to manscaped.com. It is a great company. They make elite products. They make ball deodorant, ball toner. They make a great trimmer, whether you use it on your manhood, whether you use it on your face, whatever you're doing. You can save yourself 20% off at manscaped.com with code LOADTHEBOX. That's all one here. It's right there, I believe. Nope, other side, damn. It's over here. That one, it's right there. You can use code LOADTHEBOX. It's all one word, load the box. Push it all together, get rid of the spaces. You get 20% off, and then if you use code MANSCAPEDPOD, that's gonna get you free shipping. I've been warning you guys for like a month and a half now. Christmas time is right around the corner. The trees are up, the stockings are all hung with care. The people are starting to make their fruitcakes and everything. It is Christmas time. And what a stocking stuffer some Manscaped products would be, especially when you can get them for dirt cheap. You don't have to worry about shipping costs with that Manscaped pod promo code, and then you don't have to worry about paying full price, because old Jordan and Jack just got you 20% off one more time with code LOADTHEBOX. So head on over to Manscaped now. Now let's talk about some game balls. Jack, it's been 6 months since we've done a show. So did you picked Harrison Smith last week? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. See, I need you to stay hot, because I remember, because I'm like, oh yeah, Jack did a good job last week, and then we can move. So on the defensive side of the ball, I think I picked No, I'm doing it. I'm picking Jeff Gladney until he gets his first career interception. Jeff Gladney, first fumble. I'll take a turnover. Jeff Gladney is going to force a turnover today, whether it is a strip sack, which I think could be the leading candidate in like my, bold prediction category of Jeff Gladney blitzes Andy Dalton off the blind side and strip sacks him, or whether it's just straight up an interception or a big hit where he pops the ball out. Jeff Gladney is going to start emerging as this team's best defensive back or best corner. Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris are kind of pretty good, but I like Jeff Gladney. I was excited when we drafted him. He's a Mike Zimmer guy through and through. Love the physicality. So give me Jeff Gladney getting his first turnover in this game today. Jack, who you got for the offense?
I'm going to go with the guy who I was just talking about. I think this is a game where the ball is going to get spread around. We're going to try to have as much offensive balance as we can. We're going to be running. And I think, I mean, it'd be fairly easy to pick a guy like Dalvin Cook because I think obviously he is the focal point of this offense. I think that's going to help Kirk Cousins out a ton today. I think Kirk Cousins is going to have a huge game. It just feels like one of those games. The former NFC East quarterback that has just been disrespected year over year. He's coming off, like I said, his first Monday Night Football victory. And oh, hey, by the way, he has two of the top wide receivers in the league, two of the receivers that are playing at the highest level in the entire NFL, in Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. I think Kirk's going to sling it all over this defense today. I think Kirk Cousins, I don't know if it's going to be the craziest stat line, but I could very well see him having a game where it's 300 yards, give or take, and like 3 tutties, something like that. And I think he's just going to keep rolling. I think we saw it last week. We have 3 games, and the Vikings could very well be 7-5 heading into that Tampa Bay game. And I think Kirk Cousins, and I know there's a lot of Vikings fans that don't want to hear this, I think Kirk Cousins is going to be a reason why this team has a very legitimate chance at getting to 7-5, because we just saw him essentially knock out like 3 or 4 of his narratives. He won at Soldier Field on a Monday night game, and he played well. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't the sexiest stat line, but he did what we needed him to do, and they came out with their first win in Soldier Field since 2017. So I think that's a lot for this team. I think this younger defense and some of these younger players on offense, like a Justin Jefferson, didn't really think about that because they were, like I said, they're just playing football right now. They probably see the narratives about Soldier Field. We had Joe Johnson on the show a couple weeks ago, and he had Kyle Rudolph on his podcast, and he was talking about how they don't know what happens at Soldier Field. It's a weird thing, but they did it this year, and like I said, Chicago wasn't a great team. Their defense is still really good, but their offense literally could not do a thing against our defense. And our defense, it hasn't been special this year. It's starting to get better, yes, but it hasn't been the 2017 defense. So like I said, I think Kirk Cousins, this is a game where he's gonna keep finding it. I mean, we saw that Atlanta game, and we haven't seen him play that poorly since that game. And I think this is going to be the first game of the year where everyone's going to be like, okay, that was a huge game. They put it on Kirk's shoulders. And like I said, I know Delvin's going to have a lot of the touches as well. But I think this is a game where Kirk Cousins comes out and he slings it around. Hopefully I don't mess up my streak. This could be for my 4th game ball in a row that I hit, but we'll see. I mean, I think it's kind of safe taking the quarterback, because if one of the wide receivers goes off, the quarterback's still throwing it.
Absolutely.
So I can make the point. But I think this is a Kirk Cousins game. Just like I said, everything was stacked up against him heading into Chicago. And I want to see Kirk come out today with the fire eyes, screaming you like that the entire day. I want to see that. And I don't know if you saw Zimmer's press conference, or not press conference, when he addressed the team after, he said, you like that, not like Kirk Cousins, and somebody else in the background, one of the players kind of mocked him, and it was funny. So this team is clicking at the right time. And I'll tell you this right now, I've lost a lot of optimism, but if this team wins the next 3 games and they're sitting at 7-5, watch out, because I would much rather have the Vikings make it as a wild card team where they've won 7, 8, 9 games in a row, rather than a game where they just kind of crawled their way in after losing a bad game to Chicago. If they heat up, that's how teams like that in the wild card make a run through the playoffs. There's not going to be a lot of fans at any stadium they play in. Watch out for this Minnesota Vikings team if they continue rolling, because if they heat up, oh my God, I'm getting a phone call. If they heat up and continue to play like they have, just watch out, because this team has a lot of talent.
No, absolutely. Oh, man. Here we go. They're doing it, Jack. They're bringing me back in. They're sucking me back in. We did game balls. We're going to do score predictions now. I think we're both going to pick the Vikings to win, but I'm going to go ahead, and this is obviously pending to change. If we get blown out by 70 points today, then I'm going to change my opinion as soon as we do a post-game show, as soon as we do the Wednesday night show. But I think the Vikings are going to be sitting at I think they're going to be 9-5 going into New Orleans.
Wow.
I think the Vikings are about to I think they're going to beat Tampa Bay. I said at the beginning of the season this team can beat Tampa Bay. I think they're going to do it. I really do. I mean, and I know, look, I'm looking for a month ahead on the schedule or whatever. Like, you know what? Dallas, you have to take care of your business week by week, but I am spoiling it now. I think I'm going to be picking the Vikings a lot moving forward in this season. I like them to win today. I don't think it's going. I don't know if they cover. I think Dallas is scrappy. Unfortunately, Dallas is a 2-win team that's a game away from being in first place in their division. So it's not like they're necessarily out of anything. So Dallas is still going to be playing with the same fire and intensity you would expect them to. I like the Vikings to win this game. Let's see. Let's go 30. That's 3. So 34-28. I think they just missed the cover. We beat them by 6. I think Dallas has the ball late, similar to last year on Sunday night. Dallas has the ball late, and screw it. Jeff Gladney straight picks off Dak and just ends it right there. Boom, bam. Or maybe he picks him off in overtime and gets a pick 6, and then I look ultra smart for picking him this week. But that's my score for the Vikings to beat the Cowboys. They're beating them by 6. We're moving on. I believe it's Carolina next week, or is it Jacksonville?
I do not remember. It's one of the two. I know.
Yeah, it's one of those two. It's somebody we can beat. I know that much.
I think it's also. I don't know.
I think it's Carolina, but whatever it is, it's a team that we could beat, should beat, probably are gonna lose because I went out and ran my stupid mouth. But yeah, that's kind of where I'll leave it. Jack, I will let you give your final score predictions for today's game. We've went a little over time here, so then I will let you give us the hype speech. I will leave you with one last thing, and that is, one last time, use the promo code LOADTHEBOX on manscaped.com. Grab that 20% off. It's free money that you're going to save. It's a great stocking stuffer for your sons or for your husbands or whatever. And of course, use Manscaped Pod to get free shipping. One more time, load the box, 20% off. Manscaped Pod, free shipping. We're trying to save you money. We love that you guys watch the show. We are trying to save you money. But yeah, that's it. That is all I have this week. Let me take the Manscaped logo away, and the floor is all yours, Jack.
Yeah, also make sure you follow Load the Box on Twitter at LTB Vikings. I think Jordan and myself are a little excited. Like we said, it's been over half a year since we've done a show, so we forgot how to do it. But I like the Vikings actually to cover in this one. I have the Vikings winning 31-17. I just think the Vikings, like you said, the Cowboys have some firepower on that offense, but Andy Dalton, he's a good backup. Andy Dalton is not the guy that scares me, and I shouldn't say that. I said Nick Foles wasn't the guy to scare me either, and he wasn't last week, but he was a different – when he's in the Eagles jersey, I think he's just a completely different player for some reason, which is really weird. But I think the Vikings, like I said, Dallas has the firepower, and we have a defense that we still don't really know what we have, but this defense is buzzing right now. And I think Zimmer is going to have them ready to play, and I think our offensive weapons, they're better than Dallas's. I know – there's all these arguments right now between CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Chase Claypool. There's a lot of people on Twitter that are arguing. Justin Jefferson has been the best wide receiver in this draft class so far, and I will fight for that. I know Chase Claypool has scored. You can say it's funny that I've seen this all over Twitter as well. People are now saying, well, Justin Jefferson has Kirk Cousins throwing the ball. It's like, well, where was that last year when you were saying that Kirk Cousins is absolute trash and he's not a good quarterback, which super weird how these people operate on Twitter when they get in these arguments. But yeah, I think Justin Jefferson is better than CeeDee Lamb. I think Adam Thielen's playing at a great level. And I will come out and say this might offend some Dallas Cowboys fans, but I don't care because I do not like Dallas. I'll say that as well. Ever since the Vikings absolutely annihilated them in the playoffs in 2009 when we got annihilated, when we got our hearts broken out in New Orleans, Jason Witten was crying after the game because the Vikings are running up the score. I hope to God the Vikings run the score on them today too. And just, I'm not a Dallas fan. I'm not an NFC East fan. I'm not an NFC East fan at all. I'm not a Philly guy, not a Dallas fan. They're coined America's team for what? What have they done for they haven't done anything in the last 30 years in my lifetime. Beat the Vikings and then come talk to me, Dallas fans. You can tweet me on Twitter if you want, but I'm just Dallas. It's one of those games where it's similar to going into a Green Bay or a Philadelphia Eagles game or a Saints game. I've just never been a huge Dallas fan. So I hope they come out and just stomp them this week. But I kind of just went on a longer tangent than I don't even remember what I was saying.
I know I said I was done, but I just have to chime in. I don't understand the hate that Vikings fans have. But I get Drew Pearson pushed off on that Hail Mary. But I've never had it. I mean, I hate the Eagles with a boning, fiery passion because what they did to us in the playoffs. And I even text you. I was like, look, I'm still mad at Nick Foles, but I didn't want to kill the guy. Like, I just wanted to beat him up. I didn't want to like break his hip. Thank God he's not seriously hurt. But I've never had that, and I just think it's so funny that like I always thought it was like an old timer, like like people that have been watching since the 70s and 80s and stuff that hated Dallas because of all that. Nope. Jack Day just came in. He's like 25, 26 years old, and he's like, Dallas, you go straight to hell. Like, so yeah, that's
ever since I was I was probably in 8th grade during that game, and ever since that game, when I saw the press conference of Jason Witten crying about the last touchdown that we scored, I was like, dude, just come on. It's a football game. Grow up a little bit. Swallow your pride. I mean,
yeah, no, I get it. But I mean, I was also just because I love the Vikings so much, I want us to run the score up on everybody. It's not like I don't. My mentality is you keep scoring until the clock hits triple zeros. But I remember I was in the 6th grade during that game, and I was like, screaming like, punch it in. And my dad was like, Jordan, what, by like, 3 possessions? And I was like, I don't care. But yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. This is an anti-Dallas show.
I will also say this, just to give you the cherry on the top, although if there are any Cowboys fans listening right now, Dalvin Cook is by far a better running back than Ezekiel Elliott. I will say that as well. I know he was supposed to be the best fantasy player. He's always drafted in the top 5. Dalvin Cook is the better player than Ezekiel Elliott. You put Dalvin Cook behind that offensive line that Zeke had a couple years ago, and I legit think Dalvin Cook may have a chance at breaking Eric Dickerson's record. Is that I might have spaced?
Yeah, I think it's Dickerson, and then Emmitt Smith has the one that Peterson wants to get by playing until he's 55.
But the single season record that AP was like 8 yards away from breaking. I think Dalvin Cook is good enough to have the potential, if he stays healthy, playing behind that Dallas offensive line a couple years ago, to break that. And I think he's a lot better than Zeke. I have respect for Zeke. I think he's a very good player. And I have respect for a lot of players on the Cowboys team. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be special as well. Amari Cooper kind of virtually did whatever the hell he wanted against us last year in that Sunday night game. But I just think the Vikings, they're buzzing right now. They're playing too good a football to lose to any NFC East team for that matter. So like I said, Vikings come out on top 31-17. Enjoy it. There's going to be a lot of rookies, younger guys playing on the field. I say this at the end of every show and whenever I do this speech. Watch these young guys. They're developing in front of our eyes, and this team is going to be special in a year or two. It might be with Kirk Cousins. It might be with a new quarterback. I'm not sure it's gonna matter, obviously, but this team is going to be very good again in a couple of years. And next year, I will remind you, is an odd year. This is an even year, so the chances are against the Vikings of making the playoffs because they haven't made the playoffs in an even year with the Mike Zimmer-led team since 2014. But I think this game, I say this it's a must-win game. Obviously, there's no more games that the Vikings can lose if they want their playoff hopes to stay alive. But I think this is a game where the Vikings are going to handle their business and come out on top. And sorry for this long rant. I'm sorry for if you're a Cowboys fan listening and you just had to listen to me completely go off on Dallas. But like I said, Vikings are going to come out on top.